But
Sorry. I was given ice cream.
Where's our ice cream?
Very nice. Jeez. Yeah. If you can't have it for everybody, then you can't have it for nobody.
And now it's time for us to digest the lowest rung of pop culture so you don't have to. You're tuned in to the all-new CultureCast. Welcome back, everyone, to the all-new CultureCast. I'm your host, Nick, and I have two very special people tonight who I'll let them introduce themselves.
Yep, Rick Lucas back again for more fun.
And Brian Hajic, just can't wait to talk about Picard. I've been looking forward to this before I even knew I was looking forward to it.
Yes, the last time we were here, we talked about Nemesis. That's when kind of Picard was in its middle of its season, and I personally was not going to get a CBS All Access subscription for like 3 months to watch a show, so I waited till the season was over and binged it, and I used a new email address, so I didn't actually have to pay for it, and it was wonderful. Because I'm a cheapskate.
Because if you didn't like it, then you didn't pay anything. If you did like it, it's a win.
That's true.
I tell you what, it was free and you still paid too much.
That's what
Yeah. Okay, I see we're going to have an interesting debate tonight. So,
yes.
Brian, you and I briefly talked on this because you've been texting me like a crazy person, asking me about different things about what I was thinking of Picard because you'd already seen it by the time I started it. So I think we should just jump into it. So the CBS series Picard, the second, technically the second Star Trek series on CBS All Access. I don't know if you count short treks at all. I don't know how that fits into the overall scheme of things, but I'll be up front. I love this show. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it from the beginning to the end. I think the end had a couple of hiccups, but not enough to derail it for me for the whole season there. And based on Rick, your comment earlier there, and what we've talked about previously, Brian, that you guys don't feel the same way.
Well, first of all, who are you, and what'd you do with Nick? Because
well, I'm a Star Trek fan, so I like Star Trek.
Well, okay.
Apparently, you hate it.
I really thought we were going to see eye to eye on this. I really thought we're all going to agree on this.
Hold on 1 second. Here's what I want to ask. Nick, how quickly did you watch it? Because how many episodes were there? 10? How many were there?
10, yes.
How quickly did you watch it? Did you binge it? Like, did you watch as fast as you could, or what?
I think I watched it over a 2.5 to 3 week period, give or take.
Okay, so me and Brian, I think we pretty much were watching it one episode at a time, almost real time.
Right, week by week. We may have skipped a week.
We wanted to be spoiled. So, Brian, I think you may have felt the same way. Is that especially the beginning half, it was so slow to get everything going. Like literally the first 3 episodes feel like that should have been just one episode. It was very slow to get going, I think. So I feel like if you binge watched it, it might feel a little different.
Yeah, I felt a similar way. I would have, I think, after the fact, said to myself, yeah, man, that would have been nice to watch all together or in 2 parts. They like a lot of isn't Discovery does this? Don't they release half the season first and then the second half later, which would have been nice, I think, for Picard because they really draw it out. I felt like the show was drawn out like an old man, like Picard's an old man. It was like the show was mirroring Patrick Stewart or Jean-Luc Picard, and it's just very slow. And I don't need Discovery fast. No. I guess what I was looking for was like in between Discovery and TNG, or just
I felt like they were wasting time. They were wasting our time. I like slow shows. I'm not saying TNG itself is a slower paced show program, but it felt like they were padding and just wasting time.
See, that's interesting. Maybe because I watched it all in a shorter time period, I didn't feel like that. Because here's the thing: like in those first couple of episodes, I see what you mean. It's slower paced. You're kind of like you're building up to before they shoot out into space and everything. But I felt that the show itself was it was like setting the tone, it was setting the scene. Like, we're coming back to these folks after 20 years. It's a very different environment, very different the way that the Star Trek universe is. They're laying the groundwork. And I was intrigued enough by the mystery. Like, what's going on with the androids that attacked Mars? What are the Romulans up to?
Sure.
What's Picard's story? Like, and we're getting like little bits here and there, and I like that. I mean, I was not bored by it. If I watched it one episode at a time, would I felt differently? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. I was not turned off by that. I was more like, all right, let's get to the next episode. I can't wait to watch it.
Okay.
I will say I did watch it like one episode at a time. Like, I didn't watch like a marathon of 3 or 4 at once. So
Right.
With my schedule and everything, I was only really able to watch one. But
Here's the thing where they went wrong. Okay, we have the advantage of perspective because especially Nick and I have seen every single series. Well, I haven't seen TOS every single episode, but every other series, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, I've seen multiple times.
So what you're saying, Brian, is that you're not a true fan.
I guess so. I've seen the movies. So here's the thing. You got TNG, which is every episode essentially is its own story. Aside from a couple two-parters or some of the there's smaller arcs, a couple in that series. And then you got DS9 that did some of what TNG did, but also had some arcs, multiple episode arcs, full season arcs. Picard went one extreme of it. Whole season was one arc. DS9 did a little bit of both. TNG did just individual episodes. What worked for DS9 was that it was a mix of both. So they had individual episodes, and also they were able to tell a continuing story. I think Picard just didn't strike that balance right. I thought DS9, which Rick, you haven't seen, which I really recommend you do, did really, really, really well and was ahead of its time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, a lot of shows nowadays have that season-long arc, but there's like smaller stuff in between. Like, each episode you could take as a whole. But like, it builds to like the overall one. Picard, like, I think its intention from the outset was one 10-hour story.
Right.
And like, there wasn't like, he had a couple of side adventures, like the one with 7 of 9, but it like folded into the grander scheme of things.
Here's what I'll say. Now I've not watched all the different Star Trek out there. I haven't seen TS9. So basically what I'm saying is that Star Trek is about optimism, is about, working together, about a better humanity, and it's about it's a place that you want to live. Like TNG, you want to live in that universe. You want to be on that ship. I think Voyager, I know they get thrown off into a different quadrant, and that's not the greatest thing in the world, but you still would like to be part of that crew and go on those adventures and help and figure out the problems, right? Enterprise, same thing. This world, though, that they've created, this is a very gritty world. People swear all the time, and it's super off-putting, and it just, people are drinking all the time. Everybody has a drink in that show. Everybody has a drink. 7 and 9 is drinking.
She can do whatever she wants. Go ahead.
I mean, but I'm just saying, like, this is not the Star Trek optimistic world. You don't want to live in this world. You know what I mean? That Picard show, you would not want to live there.
I'm going to disagree with that. Because here's the thing that I liked about it. I think that here's one of the reasons why I like Deep Space Nine. And you never see, in all these Star Trek shows, you always see like the perfect Starfleet officer. They're always doing the right thing, and we have to save the day and all of that. You never see the grittier side of the Federation. You never see like how downtrodden some people actually are in this world, because they always do like, oh, we're the optimistic do-gooders. Like, one of the things I liked about Deep Space Nine is it had a large cast of characters, some that were shady, some that were always trying to make a quick buck. Quark's bar, where people always, the which was played up mostly for laughs on Deep Space Nine, but you never see that. And this is like a whole nother not a take, but a whole nother avenue of the Star Trek world that you don't get to dip into. Like, they reference like the Orion Pirates. You always talk about the Orion Pirates, but you never get to see them. And unlike Picard can't go through the Starfleet channels, so he has to go through these alternative means. The swearing doesn't bother me because it's 2020. They couldn't do that stuff back in 1980s or the 60s. I see how that's weird because it's kind of like different from past Treks, but I don't know. I still feel that this show, people say it was super, super dark. I don't know if it really was.
I gotta say, Nick, overall I agree with you. Not about the swearing. I think I would have been okay more if Rios was doing the swearing or 7 and 9 was doing the swearing. They're grittier characters. The Admiral in a formal setting doing the swearing just didn't feel right to me. That felt forced.
It was totally off-putting. Every time it happened, I would just get taken
When
right
she
out of it.
swore, I don't have a problem with them swearing. To Nick's point, the universe is not that black and white. The Federation is almighty and great, and everything else is bad. It's not that black and white. I think what they're trying to do now is kind of bring that more to more reality.
Shades of gray.
Yeah, so I think there could be some swearing. I see what you're saying, Rick, but really, I think what's more important to talk about is the fact that the way it was portrayed in TNG was not really an accurate portrayal of how it would be if it was real. Because you know what? The universe is a bad place, and there are some bad people. And it'd be naive to think the Federation could keep their hands clean for 300 years and not get dirty. I think TNG showed the best of what it could be. Picard shows there's other things going on here. We have to acknowledge them and deal with them. So did DS9.
There's a great line in Deep Space Nine between Garrick and Quark, and they compare the Federation to like root beer.
Yes, great scene.
I can't remember how the line goes off the top of my head because I'm clearly not a true Star Trek fan.
Something about how it's like, it's not the best. You don't really enjoy it, but then when you start to take a sip of it, and the more you drink, the more you start to enjoy it. It's kind of infectious. It was something to that effect.
And they compared the Federation to the Borg, because like at least the Borg tell you you're. I can't.
Being simulated, yes.
Yeah, tell you that their intentions. The Federation just does it. But
right, and you think you have no. Well, I see what you're saying. It's hard to explain it verbally, but I know what you're saying. They did such a great job in with their analogy of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I still think the tone of the show, I mean, there's so many sci-fi shows that are just B shows, throwaway movies, generic sci-fi. There's what's special about Star Trek and what Gene Roddenberry's vision was, the optimism. And I know that when I watch TNG, like, it's something to strive for. I understand it's not the most realistic thing, and like there would be, some negative things out there, of course, but it's this ideal to strive for. And I just feel that, taking that optimism out causes this to be just any generic show is like this. There's, if that wasn't Captain Picard and you didn't have 7 or 9 or all those other characters that we recognize, this could be any generic sci-fi show. That's a problem.
But see, I feel the optimism was there. Like, maybe the characters didn't want to be on this thing, but it was Picard that kept saying, like, we got to find this person, we got to save them. We got to find the androids, we got to save them. We have to make sure we have to hold the Federation up to a higher standard. And, eventually his crew rallied around him to the point that they decided to put, like, Rios, he didn't care about getting his money. Well, I'm sure he cared about getting his money, but it wasn't just a simple charter anymore. He believed in the mission. Um, Same thing with Raffi. Same thing with the obnoxious doctor who killed her lover, which I'm sure we'll get to. But
Yes.
I feel that optimism was there. I mean, even Picard gave his patented Picard speeches several times during the show where we will protect you. The Federation is there. And it was Picard's speech that saved the day from a huge war breaking out between the Romulans and the Federation. So, I mean, I understand the viewpoint you're saying, Rick, but I don't necessarily agree that the show was devoid of the optimism.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it was done in a different manner. Like, all these characters are broken characters. They've had bad things happen to them, and this is their way of rebounding. I don't know.
Well, speaking of the characters, I hated every single last one of them except for 7 and 9 and Picard. Every single last one. Rios, maybe I liked Rios, but every single other character I could have thrown off the nearest airlock.
I liked Rios. I liked the holographic versions of Rios.
That was clever.
I liked the one main Romulan character wasn't too bad, whatever the guy's name was.
Yeah.
Everybody else, Picard, 79, I hated every single one of them. Every single one.
Look at Eager. His name is Eager, the other Romulan, the Protectant. What was his name?
I can't remember what his name was.
I'm going to pull that up here.
Talk about not having any kind of a story arc.
Elnor?
I'm sorry, Eager. Elnor, yes. I mean, they did absolutely nothing with him for 13 episodes or 10 episodes, whatever it was.
I'll give you that. Like, I liked the idea of his character. I liked the idea that Picard had a surrogate son of some kind and someone who
very cool idea. Yes.
Very naive but very eager. But yeah, they didn't. He's just kind of there along for the journey.
But it's like they couldn't find a way to write him into anything. So what's the point of having him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I just feel the writing just, I know people say it was great and they are patting themselves on the back and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? Patrick Stewart, when he was doing the media tour, said Nemesis was a great movie too. So I don't have a lot of confidence in them saying the stuff they're doing is great. I think the fans should say it's great. I don't understand how this show got a 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like I don't even trust those scores anymore because who's voting that? I mean, who's making these scores up? I don't know. I'm getting crazed about it now.
See, I'll give you guys in the earlier episodes when you had the subplot with Soji and I believe Narek was the Romulan agent who was trying to seduce her.
Narek, yeah.
Like, I did not care about any of that. Like, that was just like, to me, that was the slowest part of it. It's like, I get why they had it because he needed to build her trust to do that vision sequence to find out where her homeworld was. But like, it was just kind of like, let's move this along. And
it's so bad. It feels like such a long-winded way to figure that out.
Hey, really quick. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes, the average critic score is 87%, and the average audience score is 58%.
58%. It must have fallen, right?
I think 58% is more in line with what this show deserves.
Yes. Wasn't it higher previously? I remember it being a lot higher when we looked.
Here's the thing about the Rotten Tomatoes things that you can't really trust other than, I guess, a loose general idea. The critics they look at things from a different critical point of view. Some are, I'm not pointing out the conspiracy theory yet, but some might be paid off by the studio. I don't know. Some people say that. I don't know. Others just look at different aspects. So that's, give or take. The audience score, I don't trust that one as well because Rotten Tomatoes lately has become a victim of review bombing where people would, I'm not saying this happened in Picard's case, but people would put like intentionally bad reviews to have a score go down because of some perceived internet campaign because they don't like a movie, which is incredibly sad. Captain Marvel was victim to this, which I haven't seen Captain Marvel, but to the point that Rotten Tomatoes had to redo their audience reviews. Yeah, like a bunch of people like before the movie even came out, a bunch of people like review bombed it to have their audience score to be like super low.
That's
and
unfortunate. A lot of people look at Rotten Tomatoes and look at that as a guide to go see a movie, and I'm one of those people. They
right.
got to get that figured out because that's not right.
I mean, it's only so much they can do. I mean, after a movie comes out, anyone can write a review, but like if you're like such a sad little individual that you have to do a bad review score just to prove some inane point, I don't know. I'm not saying that happened in Picard. I don't know if that was the case with Picard.
Well, I think if you're a fan of that show, if you're a fan of you want to write something in Rotten Tomatoes, you should have to show your ticket stub that you went to the movie, upload it somehow, that you prove that you actually went, so you can't just be some person trying to bomb a score.
Yeah.
TV shows are more difficult, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know how all that works, but I will say I will give this is that there does seem to be some polarizing thoughts on Picard when I've been reviewing or visiting forums and everything, that some people either really like it or some people really, really dislike it. And there doesn't seem to be, as of now, a universal consensus among fans.
So just to let you know, that score of 58% is based on 2,316 people.
Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing.
That's still a lot.
2,000 people? When thousands of people watched it? Maybe, what, hundreds of thousands of people may have watched that show? Maybe 1 million?
Yeah, I would like to see how many people watched it. And I would like to see how many people fell off. Like, how many watched the first episode? How many watched the last episode?
Well, that's what we don't know. How do they do that now in the streaming world? It's a paid service, which is different. I guess Netflix is paid, but...
I know Netflix does not release their numbers. I don't know if CBS does.
They got that data, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
It's even
They ain't
easier
going to release it. But
Yeah.
I would say this, that there are so many plot points that made no sense. So explain to me this. So the two sisters,
Yeah.
so they were created 3 years ago by Bruce Maddox, and they're based, huh?
I don't know how many years ago they were created, but yeah, Bruce Maddox essentially.
I think it was like 3 years ago, because they remember she was doing scanning and it kept saying like 32 months or something like that. So it's basically like 3 years. So 3 years ago, they're based on Data's positronic matrix or whatever, and so it was kind of like supposed to be Data's daughter, but Data didn't really make them, right? And so one of them is implanted or sent to a Borg reclamation cube. Now, she doesn't even know why she's there. So what is her purpose? I think they said in one of the episodes that her purpose was to discover what was going on with the synth band, right? So how is her being on this Borg reclamation cube supposed to assist with that? And then the other sister was basically like in America, like in New York or something like that. And
It was in California, I thought. Oh, you're right. No, she was in New York. She was in a major city. You're right. I'm sorry.
wherever it was, she was in some sort of high rise. And I mean, like, again, what is she doing there? She doesn't even know that she's a robot. She doesn't even know she has a mission. You know, like if it was true that they were sent there to do some sort of undercover work to try to discover some truth to something, wouldn't it help if you sort of knew what you were supposed to be doing? And you didn't have some sort of like backstory, and you were thinking that you were, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't remember. I only watched it once. One of those things is tough when you only watch it once. But do you remember, Nick? What the backstory was?
I know they were sisters that had a fake backstory, that they were living their lives, and one went off to Daystorm or was going to go into Daystorm, and the other one's doing the Borg stuff. But I don't remember the reasoning for why they were where they were.
Why were they anywhere? Why were they sent out at all when everyone else was left on the planet? When all the other synths were on that planet hiding, why were they even sent off at all?
Right. And then at the beginning of the show, these Romulans, the secret Vaj or whatever, beam in to try to basically punch her. Now, if she's supposed to be an android, I mean, you've seen Klingons in TNG punch Data, and he's like metallic. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to hurt Data. And then you have these guys in biker helmets come in, beam in, and try to basically start like beating her up. So one, why didn't they just beam her out? Or why didn't they grab her and beam her out? This whole fight scene, that was ridiculous. And then they put a bag over her head to try to make her fall asleep or whatever, but obviously they were doing that because they had like a stunt person, because then she started doing like flips and stuff with the bag over her head. So they were trying to get a stunt person in there, not having to have their face match or whatever. I
mean, to your point, here's the thing. She doesn't know that she's a synth. She doesn't know she has abilities. So why, if you're going to beam in somewhere and to surprise someone, yeah, they're going to get activated. So if they don't know who they are, though, wouldn't you find another way to somehow sneakily, kind of knock them out versus an all-right attack? Maybe not seducing them like the other guy did. Maybe something in between the two to kind of get them.
Yeah, you raise a point, but if they did that, there wouldn't be a show. And it's not the first time in Star Trek where bad guys have done something stupid to move the plot along.
You say to yourself, next time they're going to be smarter. Next time they're going to find a better way to do it. I mean, because you always, I don't know. It's just.
I guess that didn't bother me as much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but there are so many. I'm at the first 5 minutes of the show, right? And we've got 10 hours of the show left, and there's just so many moments like this. Why are they trying to steal one of them out of an apartment in New York when they have another one that happens to be like if the whole thing is keep this android away from the Romulans, then why would Bruce Maddox send one onto a Borg reclamation cube where the Romulans are, where at least two of them know that she is some sort of android, and they're trying to basically trick her in order to say where her home planet is? How do they even know that she's an android? How did she get there in the first place? And if you want to keep your home planet a secret, then why would she be implanted with all these fake memories, where she's having these dreams over and over and over again, where she's looking up at this planet, and then she looks up at a planet, and they're like, oh, it's I can see that you're staring through the window. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, I'm looking at 2 red stars.
Okay.
How many planets in the galaxy would have 2 red stars? I mean, you could see Data being there, being like, they could be like 2 million planets, 2,000 different planets could have 2 red stars. You know what I mean? Like they were so quick to get this information and determine like, okay, now we know where this planet is.
So I just did some Googling to find out what the story was, and here's what I found according to Memory Alpha, the Star Trek Wikipedia. Maddox created the Dash to discover the truth because Maddox believed that it was a Federation and others were part of a conspiracy that orchestrated the attack on Mars. So I guess the idea was he created those 2 sisters, and one planted in, I guess, the Borg reclamation plant, the other one going to go to Daystrom to potentially learn more about what was going on, because he believed that the attack on Mars was a big conspiracy. So that was his plan, to find out that information by.
Yeah, but it seems like a bad plan. They don't even know what they're supposed to do, or that they're even robots. You know what I mean?
Unless they were supposed to be there and then they're going to get activated at a later date. I will say they should have probably developed that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the whole thing's weird. Now, how do all of a sudden the Romulans don't are against synths or androids or robots or whatever? I mean, there are plenty of opportunities in TNG where Romulans interacted with Data and there was no conflict.
And in TNG, there are points where Romulans said, oh, if we can have our cybernetic guys
Yes.
look at you. Like they had hinted that they were also working on Android stuff. Now,
Well, was that just all the Romulans or just that secret group?
That I don't know if that was clear. I mean, I know what you're saying. Was it just the VOD, whatever that group is?
The
Not the Tal
Vashtar?
Shiar, the VOD, whatever. Or yeah, was it all Romulans? But it seems like it was made to believe that all Romulans felt this way, but it was enforced by this other group of the sector of the Tal Shiar. I don't know.
so here's what's ridiculous. So this is my problem with some of this writing is creating mystery boxes to be opened, but the mystery boxes don't make sense or they don't connect to other things. Like for example, there's a whole plot point that is a mystery box that needs to be uncovered of who really attacked Mars, right? So it was the androids, but the Romulans changed the code of the androids, so they attacked or whatever. And some of those ships flying overhead might have been Romulan ships, but they needed those ships in order to rescue Romulans from the home planet, right? I'm sure there's androids at being used as slave labor in tons of other different worlds, not just Mars, for mining, minerals or whatever, if they're being used at all. Why would you sacrifice the rescue of your own home planet just to try to make this ban happen? There's so many other ways that this ban could have happened.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. Yeah, I mean, it makes it seem like the Romulans as a whole wasn't behind it. Maybe just that one sect.
Or why couldn't the Romulans have gone to the Federation and either mind melded with the top brass or said, hey, go hold on to this ring. You guys want to band together and try to get rid of these androids. So they had to have this whole big 9/11 thing,
That's not really the Romulan style. They've always been like sneaky and introverted, and they don't like to share their stuff. Like previously in TNG, there's a big backstory to the Romulans. There's some big battle or something. They went into hiding for like 100 years or 70 years or something like that, and so like staying hidden and kind of sneaking around is kind of like the Romulan way. So them being like, hey, let's band together with the Federation. I don't think the Romulans would want that, or at least definitely not this secret group. But
yeah, they want the Federation to have a ban on androids. So they're obviously, wanting the Federation to do something to help everybody, and that's banning the androids. But instead of talking to them, they go through some sort of 9/11 style attack. That at the very same time, so who knows how long they've had this ring and known about this problem with eventual AI or androids, and they happen to decide that they're going to execute this plan of a terrorist like attack to blame the androids to create a synth ban at the exact same time. They happen to be suddenly needing ships really bad to get off their home world. Like very convenient timing for the whole thing.
What's that whole thing where they have that vision? I don't get that whole thing where they have that Romans have that vision. They see these AI aliens from the other side of the galaxy overtaking, like when they open that portal. What's that whole thing? It just didn't make a lot of sense.
And where's that ring from? And it could have been just planted by somebody. You know what I mean? Like who's to say that information's real?
Well, there is that. But I think the whole thing was the implication was that the planets that that group was on, it was done in I guess it was implied that based on how it was designed, this was man-made. Like it just doesn't happen naturally. And on this planet, they left this message that when this group went into it, they got this vision of the AIs taking over humanity, because it was done like thousands upon thousands of years ago, and when they got they saw what had happened, they decided, oh, we got to do something about this. So I think that's what that was from, like what that was about, that clued in these Vashtars to begin with. But at least that's how I interpreted it. And they were the only ones who knew about this thing because it was, I don't know, really off in some weird place.
The whole thing's just weird. It's just a little weird.
The other thing too is,
Complicated.
if it's a secret society, there's probably not that many people in it, right? I mean, if there's less than the population, that's what a secret society is, right? So when you have like your best people going there and holding on to this ring and then clawing their eyes out and smashing their faces in with rocks and shooting themselves in the head, don't you think it'd be a lot easier just to do just to explain to the next person, or to do like a mind meld and give them like a softer version? You know, I mean, literally, like when they showed the ring being touched by everybody, every single person killed themselves except for the one girl. That's the brother of the other Romulan. Only one person was able to survive.
Right.
Maybe
An easier way to transport that message. You know?
Maybe they want to know who their toughest agents are.
No, what they want is, the show wants to be dark and gritty and violent and over the top, and that's what they did for the show. You know?
Well,
just like that one Borg guy who was usually on Voyager, what's his name?
Icheb?
Icheb. They showed it multiple times of them like ripping his eye out and being extremely gruesome and extremely violent for the sake of violence and shock value. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
don't
agree.
know.
It didn't need to be that. It didn't need to be that graphic. It did. I think they could have gotten the point across that they were killing him, without showing him actually pull his eye out. I mean, it's intense. I mean, you're gonna say something, Nick? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, yeah, it was gruesome and gory, I guess. But maybe I'm just desensitized. It didn't bother me.
I mean,
but
the show that I started watching when I was in like second grade. You know, this is not a show for kids. You know, this is too violent. This is too much. You know.
Well, there's some truth in that for sure.
I think it's over the top.
I'm just trying to find something to like about this show. I mean, other than to see them back together, to see Picard back, to see. I'm with you, Rick, that if they could have plucked some of these characters out that we know, this could have been anything. It didn't feel like Star Trek in that sense. I mean, I get, the Picard character's older. He's like in his 90s or something like that in this universe. But, he did not have any of that same gumption, any of that same vigor that the Picard that we knew had from maybe Nemesis.
I think the best parts of the show, and there's very few, the very beginning of the first episode when he's having a dream of Data.
Great, yeah.
That was perfect. And then later he has a dream where he's walking out in this vineyard and Data's painting a picture. Those were that was the best of the whole show.
The first episode was really good, and the last episode I thought was okay. Just a lot of that stuff in the middle was just filler. I don't know. Nick, I feel you got something to say.
I don't know what to say, man. You guys are like hard in the hate camp over there.
No, I just wanted to feel something. I just didn't feel anything for the characters. The doctor, I just couldn't stand her.
Yeah, the doctor was a little much.
She threw up on camera so many times, at least 3 times, threw up on camera. It was disgusting. Again,
I don't want to see that.
Shock value.
Yeah, and her getting together with Rios, I was like, I just don't see it. I see Rios and 7 and 9 getting together before I see Rios and that doctor. And
Randy calling Jean-Luc JL.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on that.
So annoying and disrespectful.
Yeah.
Disrespectful and annoying.
I did not like her character.
See, I don't know. You've mentioned this to me before, Brian. The JL didn't bother me. I mean, I guess it's just the nature of their friendship, but I don't know.
Realistic.
I,
I don't buy it.
I don't know.
I mean,
I think what's interesting. Oh, what was that, Brian?
hard to believe anyone would have a relationship like that with that character. I just don't see that because people were scared to call him Jean-Luc. He didn't even like being called Jean-Luc, let alone JL. It just seems odd that would be. That just doesn't seem like it's in his character range to.
It's like the writers didn't know the character, and that's what speaks volumes, I think.
I mean, at the end of the day, we don't like this first season, but you know what? That's not the end of the world because we don't like the first season of TNG either. And of course, I don't think this show is going to go 7 seasons. I don't think Patrick Stewart would want to take it that far, or any, But next season, we'll see what happens. The season after that, if it even happens.
And to forward a little bit into the show, so at the end, Picard dies. Then in the same exact episode, just a few minutes later, comes right back to life because they built an android version of him that looks just like him, is old, is going to die at the same rate, can get sick. I mean, literally is 100% the same. What was the point?
I have a theory on that. But I will say, if they're going to, I had the whole issue with the Picard death stuff because they bring it up in the first episode. It's forgotten about largely until like the last 2 episodes.
And he's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like in the first episode, they don't really say it's like, oh, you still have this thing. Just make sure you be careful.
Right. And that should have been Crusher, by the way. That should have been Crusher versus some random doctor from the Stargazer. But that's sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Maybe maybe that will be a plot point for a future season about what happened with Crusher. Yeah. Because all of a sudden it came up like, oh, by the way, I'm sick, so just FYI everyone, and then I'm dead. I would not have had a problem with Picard dying. I think it would have made sense. It would have added more like urgency to him wanting to see this thing through for his friend Data. But they kind of forgot about it and didn't really talk about it. And then when he does die, and then I wish they just kind of kept him dead at that point. You could have had the scene with him and Data in the neural net, or whatever you want to call it, the afterlife, because that was actually pretty well done. But then they just kind of bring him back. Like the episode that they introduced, oh, this is a golem that I have, and I'm going to put my brain in it sometime. I'm like, they're going to kill Picard and put him in that, aren't they? And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. But you don't have any of the superpowers or anything. It's like,
well,
they should just kept him dead.
It'd be cooler if he did. It'd be cooler if he did have some of that.
Yeah, but I don't think Patrick Stewart would want to do all that.
What would have been a better idea is that because Picard's getting so old, and honestly, and all respect to the captain, and then Patrick Stewart, but he's so old, it's painful to watch him on screen now, unfortunately.
No, I don't think I think he's playing it older than he is. I think he's playing it older.
Yeah, and also you gotta think Picard's like a broken man.
It was hard to watch him. But what I think they should have done is they should have killed him. And
brought in Tom Hardy.
They should have put him back into a robotic body that was like a young Picard. And they could have just picked some new person to play a young Picard. And then now we could go on to season 2 with a young Picard. And then you could have done whatever you wanted,
Could you imagine the fan outrage on that one, though?
Yeah,
I was talking with a friend of mine who's also a big Star Trek fan. I was asking him, "Did you see Picard?" And he enjoyed the show like I did, but we pitched out an idea that I almost felt like when I heard that they're doing a second season of Picard, that seemed like a bad idea because it seemed like, oh, it's like a Picard, one last adventure, one last ride. Right. I did appreciate how this season was closed. Like there wasn't like a cliffhanger about here's what's going to happen next season. Like Q didn't come by and be like, Picard, you're needed for something. That didn't happen. It was just kind of like it was ended. But I almost feel like instead of this have been like a Picard show where future seasons are going to be more and more Picard, that each season focused on a different former Star Trek character and they have like a reunion show of that character. Like Seven of Nine's storyline in this that they don't do a lot of because she's a side character. I was intrigued by that. Like what happened to Seven in those past 20 years?
Yeah.
Like that led her down this part.
Lesbian, apparently, I guess.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Well,
What'd you say?
It became a lesbian, apparently.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Chakotay made her
Not
gay.
that there's anything wrong with that, but it's not.
No, of course
what her
not.
character has been in the past.
Well,
It felt forced.
Yeah.
The thing with the Seven lesbianism, like if they want to make Seven gay, that's fine. I don't care. Who knows what
Can't
Seven
just
was?
value. Oh, Seven Line is hot. It'd be great if she was kissing a woman. Let's get it there. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just.
It comes out of nowhere. That whole relationship comes out of nowhere because they did not share any scenes.
No, nothing.
So that was very weird. That was one of the other issues I had in the last episode there. The romance on this show was not good. I'll give it that. The only romance that worked was the Dash's relationship with her boyfriend who died 5 minutes in, because that's the only thing that seemed like a real sort of relationship. But the whole romance thing was But no, as I was saying, like it'd be neat if they had like instead of doing another Picard season, they brought in another Star Trek alumni and did a show around them. Like Star Trek 709 or Star Trek Janeway or I don't know, whoever else you want. Star Trek Kira. Probably not. But but like someone, cuz I think that would be that to me that would be interesting. Instead of like what Picard's going to have like another one last ride adventure next year. It's like having him die would have been a good way to conclude. But I almost wonder if that was the intention. And they thought, Patrick Stewart's liking doing this. We're liking doing this. Let's rewrite the ending to bring him back. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't believe there's gonna be more than one more season. Maybe
supposedly
3.
there were talks of 3, and that was going to be it. But I guess the producer like, as long as Patrick Stewart wants to do this, we'll keep doing it. But I don't know. We'll see.
Interesting.
The rumor is 3, but who knows?
Did any of you guys think it was weird that all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's another Soong brother?
Yes.
Oh, whoa, we never knew about this guy.
That's another issue I had in the last couple episodes because it's like, where did he come from? I mean, not that he had to have been mentioned before, but it's kind of weird that like it never was. It's just kind of like, oh, I existed.
And he's a lot younger, and he looks exactly the same as Data. He's a lot younger than his brother, who Data's.
Well, we don't know that because Star Trek aging is different. Patrick Stewart, or Captain Picard in the first season of TNG was supposed to be like 60 or 65 years old at that point.
Oh,
and he's like 90 now. So the Soong brother could be much older than he actually looks.
Why did they change it? I thought he was always old. I thought he was always in the 70s or something like that.
Picard?
Yeah, I thought Picard was always older. Like when he was captain, he was in his 70s.
Yeah, he was, or something along that. He was older than how old Patrick Stewart was. So like Patrick Stewart was in his 40s when he started. I think Picard was always 20 years older.
Gotcha.
And even this, he said he was like 90.
He was 90 something, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's possible the Soong brother was actually older than he was. But yeah, that did throw me off too until I don't know, thought about it more because clearly I have nothing better to do with my time.
Yeah.
I also they kept pounding home that the reason Picard was going off on this adventure is because Data's daughter. You're the daughter of a very dear friend, a very special friend. They kept pounding that home. He was having dreams of Data drawing her daughter, on a painting, right? But when it really came down to it, she was really just made from like one, like what did they say? Almost like an atom of the positronic.
A neuron.
a neuron or whatever. Right? Like
Yeah.
it's not really his daughter. It'd be like if somebody like cloned me and I'm like, this is my son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just and it's not like Data knew this person. Like, but you could maybe say he knew of her because he's trapped in this little like virtual room or box or whatever. But I don't know. Just the whole daughter thing, like it just didn't. I don't buy it and didn't really play out as much as they were building it up to be. And you know what? Data already had a daughter. Why didn't he draw that daughter?
Well, he didn't really have a daughter. She died. I mean, she was.
Lol.
You know what I mean?
I think we're looking at the wrong. I think it would have been much more interesting to do something with Q, or I lost my train of thought. I think just something with Q would be very cool. They could have brought him back. They could have done a lot of just fun stuff with that character. I just think there's so many other things they could have done that would have been more interesting than some of the stuff that they did.
Well, I think you're both crazy.
Yeah. Really?
I enjoyed it. I don't know. Maybe I can't put my finger on it. I was invested in the show from beginning to end. The last episode, it did not shit the bed, but there did have some things that were kind of like, huh? Like Picard dying and then immediately coming back. The missing Soong brother.
I mean, he definitely got better towards the end, but I mean, there was some points where I thought I'm not going to be able to make it. I cannot keep going. It was that painful.
Well, that's interesting. Like I never felt like that at all.
What about Lore? Lore's still alive. He just dismantled. You should have put him back together. There's so much.
I was surprised that I'll give you that. I'm surprised they didn't mention Lore because they mentioned before.
Yeah. They still got looks. I watched Descent again because I'm like, what did they do with him? Is he destroyed? No, he was just dismantled.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised that they didn't throw like a throwaway line. I mean, I'll give the writers or producer whoever credit. There were a lot of fan service in the show just by like throw. You saw the old Romulan warbird from the original series, like things like that. And I'm surprised they didn't have like oh yeah, we destroyed Lore for whatever reason, like just or just some passing reference to him.
Right. Well, I mean, to your point though too, they said this show was going to be for everybody. And I'm watching the first 2, 3, 4 episodes. I'm like, if you not a fan of this stuff, you don't know these people or what the Borg is, you're not going to know what is going on here. Because I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know any backstory to any of this stuff. I think that's a real problem. If you're not a fan of this stuff, you really wouldn't know what was going on. I don't think, but it's hard for us to say because we know it so well.
Right. Yeah.
I think too when Picard, went to escape, through the, warp or whatever they had inside the Borg ship. I mean, he could have gone anywhere. He could have gone, straight back to the Federation to ask for help. He could have gone somewhere completely remote, but he chooses to go to, and he didn't want to put anybody else in risk or harm's way, but he goes to his two friends, Riker and Troy, and then the first thing that Riker says is, "Oh no, if you're here, that must be you're in trouble. What'd you do this time?" But Picard has never been like one who gets in trouble. Like he's always been like a very clear, calm, person in Star Trek who helps get other people out of trouble. You know what I mean? So it's just a weird thing to say, and
that's also Riker. He makes like cracks like that on occasion.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true. Speaking of Riker, did you guys have any issue with him on that ship at the end of the last episode, him on that bridge? The bridge didn't even look real. I did read that it was a retooled Discovery set, but it looked like a green screen. It just looked so artificial.
And then the other ships from the Federation come in, and they're all the same ship because they didn't have the budget. Like they just literally just made one ship and copied it 1,000 times.
That's what it felt like anyway.
It was so dumb.
Yeah, that was weird.
I mean, I'd say that when Riker was on the ship though and gave his little speech, it sounded very Next Generation-y. You know what I mean? You know why he was there, and you know, I thought that was good.
Yeah, they definitely got the right tone for Riker on that one. I thought the writing for Riker was pretty good. Although Jonathan Frakes, he's a natural performer, and so I think I think Riker is just Jonathan Frakes playing himself, quite honestly. So they could write him anything, and it'll sound like Riker because it's Jonathan Frakes.
Remember when we were in Vegas for that Star Trek convention back in 2007, Nick?
Yeah.
Saw him at the hotel, and
he walked
John
like
Frakes
Riker,
was walking just like how Riker walks on the show,
like the shoulder forward
in the hallway.
Oh my god. You know, I was watching some reviews before this to see what other people were saying, and one point that some people were bringing up that was very interesting is in the TNG show, there's a couple times where they'll show ships that come orbiting a planet and then very quickly just shoot one blast to blow up like a location, right, on a planet. And basically on this planet where the synths are, it's not like there's a planet of synths. There's maybe like 100 people in one little compound. You know what I mean? And they literally have all these Romulan ships show up, right? And I know that there's these flowers there or whatever trying to protect them. But there's only like 10 of these flowers. But literally, like, no one was able to make a maneuver and shoot down like one beam or one photon or something to blow up a tiny little house on a planet.
Yeah.
Like, if this was so important, they've been training for 1,000 years for this moment.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
And then they just tuck tail and run away when Riker comes with a bunch of ships.
And then when
get out of here.
Picard's like, okay, I've got this, and everyone leaves. Like the Romulans could just turn around and came back, or just brought one guy back and just boo, and then left. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only thing I could think of, and I'm not saying this is a good excuse, is that planet became a Federation. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Protectorate or
under the protection, but
yeah.
No, where this planet is in relation to the Federation. Is it in the Beta Quadrant? We don't know.
We don't.
Okay, but if that's true, remember that just a few episodes ago, they established that they literally did a terrorist attack and destroyed their own rescue plan on Mars just to try to create a synth ban. And they basically sentencing like how many Romulans to death because they couldn't get off the planet in time. That's why everyone's pissed at Picard. But yet you're saying that they wouldn't turn around and come back and blow us up and void a treaty or something like that? You know?
Maybe because it with the synth ban thing, they would have known that was the Romulans that had done that's the group that did this. This one, it's like plainly obvious. Oh yeah, we're doing this, and then it would plunge the remaining Romulans into a huge war.
Yeah, well, maybe they wouldn't care because obviously this is a bigger problem.
Bigger deal.
Maybe. You know, also my problem with this is I don't understand what's the difference between an android versus AI holograms versus AI computer versus a cyborg like the Borg, right? I mean, they obviously still have holograms. All their ships still have computers, right? They can talk to the computer. It was only happened to be they were very concerned with these robots,
right,
who were basically soulless. I mean, they were definitely less capable of thought and human emotion than the hologram that was a hologram of the captain or whatever, you know, or the hologram of the Doctor on Voyager. Those aren't banned, you know.
Yeah, I wonder why they draw the line there. You know, why it's got to be synth. But that's the thing. They've been working on this for 1,000 years or longer. They're so dedicated. It just feels like they just gave up. And that they just...
And they knew about Data for a very long time. How come they didn't come for him, you know?
Yeah, that's the whole other thing. Yeah.
Maybe
Or
because
more.
my only guess is, and this is just a guess, is that at the time Data, Lore, they were the only ones. It was unique. So maybe it wasn't as big of a we have to stop these guys. It's only when they learned that Maddox and others were creating this whole community of these androids that it really
Yeah.
popped on their radar. They're
So
like, okay, this is coming out of control.
how do they know that there was a community? How do they know this was happening? And it's like Maddox is supposed to be like in hiding and nobody can find him, but then like later he's like in a bar and somebody just shows up and goes, "Oh, there you are, Maddox. Everyone's been looking for you." You know,
Right.
the whole Maddox thing was a little bit weird.
Right. That was the one character they did such a big giant disservice to. All he was referenced the whole season. And you saw him in one episode. He never got to. It would have been nice to do something more with him. Get rid of Alnor and do something with Maddox. Get some explanation or get some arc with him.
Speaking of Maddox, I'm surprised they didn't bring back the original actor who played him.
I agree. Wow, I agree with you. That would have been great.
Maybe he didn't want to come back. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
Because they brought back the same actor who played Hugh.
Yeah, which was great. Which I was bummed they killed him off. I would have liked them to, kept him. I think he did great.
The other thing too is that when they were in that Borg reclamation project, which I actually thought that was kind of an interesting idea, them going in there and trying to fix all this stuff. The Borg cube was deactivated. Couple of problems with that. One, why was the reason that the Borg cube was deactivated in the first place?
It was found adrift, I think. I think they found it adrift. It was separated from the collective for some reason. So they were trying to harvest the technology.
Do you remember there was the one girl who had like long hair and she was kind of like out of it? She was almost in kind of like the insane,
Yeah, she was one of the other ones in the group that got crazy with the circle.
Yeah, so they said that when she got assimilated, her despair, she was so sad that she broke the cube.
That's what it was.
That's what they said.
That one Romulan ship got assimilated, so they broke the cube and disconnected them from the collective somehow. Yes.
So first of all, that's such a ridiculous thing, but I do like the idea of it being disconnected and being abandoned or whatever. And then you see all these different life forms. I mean, there were like all these different life forms were on this ship, and it was like, there was like the Federation like knew about it and had ties to it, so it wasn't like it was a secret or anything like that. But then later in the show, when shit starts hitting the fan, the Romulans start going around and shooting all the XBs, right? Because even the ones that
blew them out the airlock.
Well, blew them out of the air, but they started shooting the ones that they had removed the Borg technology from and turned back into normal people.
Oh,
killing.
Yeah. Right.
So first of all, it's like, why are you killing them? Is it because you don't want anybody to know about, the robot, which nobody knew about anyways? Now she's gone, and then after that, you never see any of the other normal people working on the ship. I mean, the thing crashes. You never see any of the. There was tons of people on that Borg cube working every day. You never saw any of them again. They was gone.
There was a scene where
the plot just forgets about them.
Well, I did have some issue with that because they don't talk about because the Borg thing crashes on the planet and then it's just forgotten about, and then Seven leaves them all there apparently.
Right.
There was a scene where. I'm trying to remember correctly, where the Borg cube was about to either go into warp, and you saw a bunch of ships just like bail from the cube. So I don't know if that's where all the people were just leaving at that point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about things that don't make any sense. It's like with the Borg, it's like, why do they never assimilate the Romulans or the Klingons? We don't really know.
That we know of.
That we know of, right? But they only send one cube. Send 20 cubes. The first time one cube fails, send a whole freaking fleet of cubes. It's not that hard. You got them. It doesn't make any sense.
You go to war with the cubes you have, not the cubes you need.
I guess. You know, and then when they're doing that battle above the synth planet, I thought the cube was going to get into the battle, but it just crashes right away,
Right.
which is pretty lame. I want to see the cube go into a little bit of a battle scene. You know, watching the cube go at it's pretty awesome.
You know, also 7 and 9 gets pretty upset when all the Borgs get sent out into space, but we've seen that the Borgs can survive in space just fine. Like, couldn't they have like tractor beamed them back in or something, or beamed them back in? Like, don't they have beaming technology?
Do they survive in space? I honestly don't remember that or not.
Well, yeah,
if you
Nemesis
first
are.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. First contact.
Yeah, they're breathing out there.
Yeah. We don't need to breathe.
Which that actually would really the point is that makes no sense.
It doesn't
The first
actually.
contact part makes no that canon makes no sense. Everything else makes more sense that they wouldn't be able to breathe in space because they're bioorganic. They still have organic components to them. They have lungs, apparently, you know, from what we understand. But anyway,
You know, one thing I did like about the whole Borg stuff was when Seven was on the cube and she was trying to command the Borg, and like Seven like plugged into like the
Yeah, the
Borg
queen,
system there. Like I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat how they're. I thought that for a second there, I thought they were going to make her like a Borg queen of sorts. Would be like, man, that would be fitting for 7 of 9 to like full
yes,
circle.
that would have been cool.
It felt like
They should have been like a good queen or something, you know.
the good queen of the North. It reminded me of something you would have easily seen on Voyager, but a Voyager idea kind of done right.
Yeah, right.
Like if Voyager did it, it would have been incredibly stupid.
You know, the other thing too is that Borg cube was full of XBs, X-Borgs, right? That had been unplugged, just like 7 of 9. And I thought it was interesting how they were like, every day they would talk to the people that were coming into the project saying like, this is very dangerous, things could still be active, please be careful. You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting how they're talking about that, but it's like, obviously the Queen's room is a pretty dangerous area to be in. You don't want people just walking in there, plugging in, and then start killing people, taking over an entire freaking cube, right? So you'd probably like want to protect that or dismantle that part pretty well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seemed like 7 or 9 of them were able to get in that room pretty easily and just take over the whole
thing. I don't think the Romans knew.
Yeah, they didn't, because he was like, no one knows about this room other than like me, and
I mean, they're just killing an entire Borg cube and they don't know about that. I mean, it just seems difficult.
I think it makes no sense that he would be the only one that would know. I think all the Borg would probably know because there was no like secrets with the Borg. They all knew what was going on, but the Romulans might not have known. I mean,
yeah, they could have easily kept that from the Romulans. But like 7 knew, Hugh knew.
Yeah.
But and they said like, yeah.
The cubes. How random is it that Hugh just happens to be the one that was on that cube and he's also been removed? You know,
I mean, he has a rabbit hole to go down. I mean,
I just feel like the writers were like, all right, here's a Borg, Hugh, put him in there, you know.
How many times has the Enterprise been the only ship in range for something?
Right.
I mean, yeah, right. It's kind of a staple in Star Trek when you have like that kind of coincidences, but I don't know. I mean, the fact they even remembered to bring in Hugh, you know, if they did not bring in Hugh and they had like some.
And why didn't they just bring in Hugh?
That's right. I don't know where there is to go from here, I think.
The people who hate Star Trek the most are other Star Trek fans.
That's so true. It just. There were some good parts when he, you know, there were the first couple episodes, and then when he went to Starfleet Academy and not Starfleet Headquarters, excuse me, and the Enterprise D the hologram was above them, and then the guy at the desk said, "Good to see you again. Good to see you out about it." I mean, there's some good stuff. There is some good stuff in this show, but
I like Picard's assistants, his like on the farm.
Yeah, the Tal Shiar agents, the X.
Yeah.
Agents.
I like those two characters. I thought they were kind of fun.
Well, I like how they introduce those characters for like 3 episodes, and then they're like, you know, a 94-year-old man, you guys stay here, watch the farm. I'm gonna leave, and we're gonna introduce a whole bunch of new characters. Halfway through the season, a new crew, and we don't need any help. Even though you're TLCR and we're trying to battle TLCR, you stay here and watch the vineyard.
Well, someone needed to watch the vineyard. Who's it going to be? Number one, the dog? I don't think so.
That was clever too.
I did like the dog.
Everyone likes dogs.
I just wanted Picard. This is what I wanted. I just thought of it. I wanted Picard to be like Indiana Jones and Kid in the Crystal Skull. Older, but he still had something of him of the younger version. And that's what I wanted. And we didn't get that. You know what I mean? Because Indiana Jones was a lot older in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but he still felt like Indiana Jones. This did not feel like Jean-Luc Picard. It felt like some old guy just took him out of the retirement home. Let's do something.
Man, you guys are harsh.
I'm too easy on these people. I mean, there were 4 executive producers. There's tons on tons. It's not like they're creating a brand new show. Like, people know what Star Trek is. They have a lot of money, right? CBS wanted this to bring you into pay for their crappy streaming service, right? You can't be easy on them.
I'm not being easy. I genuinely enjoyed it. I mean, I recognize some of the issues you're bringing up. They didn't bother me that much. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I'll be there for season 2, and I'll text you guys.
So will we. We'll be for season 2 too.
Let me ask you this: Did you? I haven't watched it, but did you watch Babylon 5?
No, not really.
No.
Sequest. You know what I mean?
Sequest, great show.
I never watched
Sequest.
But Babylon 5 is, kind of like a poor man's DS9, right? That's right? What I understand it's supposed to be like, right?
I did hear a lot of people compare it to DS9 because it takes place on a space station, and then there's like a war and all that other stuff.
I heard that idea was still. I heard it was pitched. Babylon 5 style was pitched to Paramount, and Paramount stole it for DS9, and someone else took Babylon 5 and made their own thing. Something like that is what I heard. I don't know if it's true.
So what about Babylon 5?
I just feel like this is like a watered down sci-fi, story with a couple of characters who barely represent the characters we know, except played by the same actors and have the same name.
Well, I think we need to call the elephant in the room. What about Sequest? Let's bring Sequest back. I think they should redo that show. Sorry.
Which version? Didn't they keep rebooting it every year as something completely else?
They had Roy Schneider, and then for some reason he left the show, and then the ship went to the future for some reason. It was Sequest 20 something, 2049 or whatever, 2042, whatever it was.
Sounds like Sequest hot mess.
The first couple seasons or whatever I thought were really good. It was a good show.
Was it the one where the dolphin talked or something?
Yeah.
It would be like, and people are like, yes, that's exactly right. He's our science officer. I never watched Sequest. I'm just going on from the commercials that I remember.
You should. 90s. I recommend you watch the first season. You tell me it's not good. You won't. You'll tell me it's great.
Okay. I'm probably not going to do that.
It's got the special effects of Babylon 5, but the feel of Star Trek.
I like Roy Schneider.
He's great. He killed it.
And now he's dead. Maybe they should put him in a golem.
That's a shame.
So now we have officially defeated death in both the Prime universe and in the reboot universe. Because, Captain Kirk came back to life and Into Darkness using magic blood. And Picard came back to life using a golem. Yeah. They can find a way to bring anybody back. I mean, it would be kind of cool to see Shatner as Kirk one last time before he actually does pass. He's getting old. You wouldn't know it. Not to go off topic. I went to C2E2, which is a comic book convention.
Picard does.
Yeah, he's got more vigor than Picard, or than Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Like I saw him on stage when like his panel, and it's like story time with Uncle Bill. Like he was like on there for like an hour straight just talking. No moderator, no one be like, so what did you think? No, he's just like talking, and someone would ask a question, and he would start with answering the question, then go on to like this complete story for like the next 20 minutes that somehow the question reminded him to tell, and it's insane. Like
Awesome.
there's no stopping that guy.
No.
So
I'd love to be good to see him back. I gotta watch Generations again. Not to get off topic, but
We should do it. Let's do it.
we should.
So, well, I think we came to a consensus that Picard season 1 was the greatest season of Star Trek ever. Rick and Brian loved it. They gave him the whole thumbs up heartedly.
By the way, this is sponsored by CBS, which Nick gets a cut of apparently.
I wish. I wish, man, if they're giving me a cut of CBS All Access or anything on that, yeah, I'll shill. But no, they don't give me anything. I don't give them anything because I paid for nothing. I liked it. Sorry, I enjoyed it. I was entertained from beginning to end.
Good.
When they come out with a Star Trek that you don't like, that's the one I gotta see. I gotta see what that is.
Maybe I'm just too easy to please. I don't know.
It might be so low on the totem pole.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I found Picard just refreshing because it was different from the other Star Treks out there. I don't know. I don't know.
Discovery doesn't make it great.
Discovery has its own issues, yeah. I wonder if this is how like it was back in the 80s when TNG came on, and there was like
Yeah, everybody hated it. Yeah.
everyone like the old fans were like, this isn't real Star Trek. And which I'm not just saying that you guys' opinions are invalid, but like the people who, if you go on the forums, like the people who hate it, like they'll hate it for like irrational reasons, like the colors are the wrong tint of yellow. It's like,
Yeah.
let's dial this back, guys. Like I do wonder, like now that we're in the CBS All Access era, if this is what it was like in the 1980s, or if there's internet on in the 1980s. The way it is now, but I don't know. And in another 20 years, there'll be a new era, and people who grew up watching this version of Star Trek will hate the new stuff and say this is real Star Trek. So I don't know. Well, I think let's wrap this sucker up here. I think we've exhausted all of our resources about Star Trek Picard, and yeah. So all right. Well, I'm Nick.
See you guys later.
All right.
Goodbye, all. See you on season 2.
Hey, I got other Star Trek topics we could talk about. I got some stuff here. I'll send you some links. But
oh boy.
Yeah, we'll chat in the future. So all right, you guys take care. You have a good one.
Thank you.
On life.
All right, bye guys.
See you guys.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the all new Culture Cast. We try to post new episodes every Monday evenings, 3 to 4 times a month. Check out our backlog. We could be found at allnewculturecast.libsyn.com. You can also find us on Apple iTunes and wherever else podcasts can be downloaded and listened to. This has been the All New Culture Cast, a Saltwater production. Original material copyright 2020. Thanks for listening.
He still says Nick is recording calls. I don't know if this is really recording or not. I mean, he's left the call, but
He's going to have a lot of our conversation to go through then.